Welcome back to Outside the Round Pen Season 2, Episode 7. Last week in Episode 6, we talked about the work that we did with Josie and learning how to trust even when it's an unfamiliar environment. Now, we're not just changing the task, we're changing the setting. So she is being tested not to fail, but to recognize just how far she's come. Just like the Lord doesn't test us or present tests for us to shame us, He presents it to show us just how far we've come in learning how to trust Him and learning how to grow in adverse circumstances. So that's kind of the gist of what we're going to be looking at today. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like this video and make sure you're subscribed. Leave a comment below. And without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to Outside the Round Pen, where we step beyond the basics of training and into the deeper lessons horses teach us about faith, leadership, and partnership with Jesus. How do you respond when you're no longer just being invited to do something that you've been learning and working very hard at learning, but now you're being evaluated? That's a question that probably a lot of you, if you've worked a job, maybe you've never thought of it with that specific language, but obviously we've all been in a position where we've been working towards something in school, in work, in whatever, that you have put time and effort and energy into learning something, and then you come to the point where it's time to be evaluated by someone who's been teaching you or someone from the outside who hasn't necessarily been teaching you but knows the source material or the subject that you're being evaluated on. And it's interesting because when you look at the way that the Lord works with us, He doesn't test us with adversity. He tests us with our character to be able to recognize Him in the training process. That's what the test is how we're going to respond. It's not Him putting obstacles in front of us to watch us fail or to do something bad. He doesn't do that. We have an enemy who does that for us. He presents tests that get to show just how far we've come. And it's kind of exciting because you can take a test as many times as you want to, and He's also sitting there giving you the answers if you listen. So the training process, there comes a moment where what's being practiced gets to be fully revealed publicly, right? So perfect example of that I already referenced, but that's a job. That's where you have been being trained in a process, and then an evaluation or a test comes by them taking their hands off, whoever your trainer was, taking their hands off, letting you do it for your own, on your own. And if you pass, then you're able to continue doing it on your own. And if you don't pass, that just means you need more training. It's not necessarily something where you absolutely lose everything because you didn't pass something. This isn't about performance. It's about progress. So as Josie's been working her way towards stepping more and more outside of her comfort zone into things that are unfamiliar or they're familiar with a bad taste, we've been seeing how the foundation holds. And sometimes it's successful, and sometimes it needs a little bit more work. But every single episode you have watched how far she's come. And she may not even recognize how far she's come, but I'm going to present her with something that's going to ultimately be a overall evaluation of everything that she's learned thus far, and set her up for, if she's able to pass it, set her up for a future that she could have never received or walked into without help, and being willing to submit to the process of learning. And then this evaluation is kind of critical to see, like I said, it's to see where her foundation is in all of these areas. And if she's successful, holds a broader and much more open opportunity for her to step into, which is super exciting. So there's two very obvious scripture references that you may or may not recognize already, but there's James 1, 2 through 4, to consider it pure joy whenever you face trials, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance, and it continues, right? And there's very critical information in that verse. Don't ever take it out of context or let someone try and tell you that verse is talking about you needing to perform in order for the Lord to approve of you. No. It's talking about letting your faith produce things in you because you've been practicing walking with Jesus despite adversity, not because he authored adversity. Because a good trainer, I don't set her up to fail. I give her obstacles to be able to overcome, but those obstacles are not going to hurt her. They're not going to bring her any kind of emotional or physical harm or trauma ever. If it even starts to, I stop that. Our God is the same way. He doesn't present us with things that are designed to harm us or destroy our bodies or bring desperate situations to us. That's the enemy. He's the author of evil. He's the one that produces things to cause us to stumble. The only thing that the Lord promised we'd have is persecution, and it's that comes when we've been walking fully in our faith and allowing our faith, our walk with Jesus, to overcome all of these things that the enemy throws at you. And so it's so critical to know that trials are all throughout the scripture, and they're talked about and they're promised in the world, but they're not. Things that are meant to harm you are not coming from a good trainer. Things that are meant to encourage you and watch you succeed, set you up to be able to face things that might come at you that the trainer didn't. Right. That's what the whole point of this is. And that's the way that the Lord works with us. Another perfect one is referenced in 1 Peter 1:7. These trials will show you that your faith is genuine. Again, there's a lot of context to both of those, and I don't have time to go into them. But the word talks about all kinds of different trials and things that we're going to face. Josie has faced She's faced trials. She's faced a lot of adverse things, but the adversity and the trauma that we are overcoming now in different settings is not something that I orchestrated. I didn't design for her to get hurt. I didn't design for her body to fail. I designed these obstacles for her to overcome where there were people and situations that did do that. And now we're at a point where the test isn't a threat anymore, which is so exciting. And that's hard for me to even process sometimes, because there are moments even in my life where I'm looking at something and I don't recognize it as a opportunity to showcase, right? The test is our opportunity to showcase what we've learned in a relationship and a walk with the Lord in the face of adversity. But it's those moments where you to recognize that an opportunity like that is not something that's going because you're found in Jesus. That's not something that can actually be presented as a threat that has any substance unless you allow it to, because the enemy is powerless. We were given the power when Jesus died on the cross. And so Josie has been given, she's been fully equipped, right? We talked about the armor of God for us and her learning how to carry and to present royalty on her back, right? She's meant to carry the presence of her leader, and we're meant to carry the presence of our King everywhere we go. We're image bearers. She can trust my word. There's so much there, but every test begins with a choice. If you're going to choose to listen to fear or you're going to choose to listen to faith. And faith has already been established in her, but she has to turn that on. That side of the faucet has to be turned on. Or you can turn on fear. And whichever one you're going to listen to, that's going to affect the outcome of your situation. Not because your trainer did it that way, but because you did. So I'm not saying that Josie has any idea what a faucet is. I'm just saying that she knows now that she can trust me, and she's been given the opportunity to recognize this next really, really, really big, end of term test, if you will, as training in motion, not a threat. It's not a threat. It's not a threat to her safety. It's not a threat to her body, nothing. The whole point is to see if she will rely on what she's learned from this process, despite what the environment changes look like outside. So just like us, this moment is critical, and you're going to watch and see what happens. But when pressure comes, which is not from the trainer, it's not from me, It's not from our good God. That pressure reveals, not creates, what's already there. So if you are looking at something and whatever bubbles up out of you in that situation, it's not being created in that moment. It's been created and it's exposed in that moment. And so if she's going to have an overflow of trust, that's not because in that moment she chose to just trust. She chose to operate in faith, but she established all of that trust in my relationship by multiple times choosing to rely on my word, to rely on my faithfulness, whatever, right? So you can see right here, I just gave her an opportunity to allow me into her space, to let me love on her. And if you look back to where we started, she was not comfortable with me even being in her space, let alone letting me touch her and stand next to her, and her being completely at rest, completely relaxed, knowing I am not going to harm her. And it's just really, it's precious to see how far we've come. And all of these moments and all of these sessions over the last 2 seasons that you've seen of her and the progress that we've made, it's incredible to see how peaceful she is just walking off her map regularly and going, oh yeah, we're good. I'm fine. I know this. This is routine now. I'm good because I know who I'm with. I have my constant. I have my leader right here, and she is trustworthy, right? I'm to her. I was trustworthy. The thing is, tests are stretching, but it doesn't mean that you're unready or unprepared for something. It just means that you are growing. And again, growth can be uncomfortable, but it's not actually hurting you. And so sometimes it's messy. Growth can be really messy. It can be, you can be hesitant or unsure how you're going to face or approach certain things. But when you have a good leader, it means that you're able to navigate that with a foundation. Again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, you can navigate that with so much health and so much security because you have a foundation with your Father. You have that faith. You're choosing that faith over fear in those moments, and it builds. It's just like exercising a muscle. You're exercising, and the more you exercise your faith muscle in those moments of adversity or testing or uncertainty, your foundation gets firmer and firmer and firmer, and it becomes a default after a certain amount of time. And for her, you can see just how relaxed she got. But again, there's been moments where you've seen that it's been messy, it's been uncomfortable for her, but she kept pressing through, and that means it doesn't make the growth invalid, it makes it real. It makes it, again, there's a little bit of friction because you're rubbing off the stuff that doesn't fit. And I'm here with this test, right? It's kind of her final exam, if you will, for all of these things that we've been looking at, that we've been working on for all these weeks, all these sessions. And she's been just doing incredibly well, growing and succeeding in leaps and bounds. And I dressed up. I wanted to feel pretty because I knew this was going to be a big day, and I was believing that she was going to be successful in what I had in store for her. And I wanted her to feel that way too. And sometimes, us girls, even guys too, but especially girls, when you are doing something exciting or it's a big moment, usually you want to look your best, and you spend extra time primping and preening and making sure everything fits right, and you have the right outfit, and you have the right makeup, and all of these things. And even though horses aren't interested in that sort of thing much, I wanted to take the extra time to just let her enjoy being prepared, being pampered. Because, it's little, and there's not a whole lot of need to go into depth. There's not a whole lot of, there's a lot of layers of meaning there, but I don't feel like I have to unpack it because I just genuinely wanted her to feel good. Some of it is, for safety, for making sure she's secure, wanting to make sure she's healthy and ready to actually do what we have in store today. But some of it is just, I wanted you get to see just how far we've come with me touching and rubbing and just loving on all of the areas of her body in ways that she used to be absolutely skittish or shy or refuse any kind of help or touch in. But I get to love on her, and I get to just pamper her in those moments and help her feel. I think we've talked about this before, but that non-demand time where I'm just brushing her. And sometimes I know for some of us, we love just having our head scratched or having a little back or shoulder rub. And it's not a big deal, but it can be that little act can change the entire dynamic of a relationship in certain moments, especially if you're going into something intense. Now, she doesn't know that there's going to be anything intense, and I don't think it's going to be intense in this moment, but I still want her to feel that there's a connection here, and I respect her, and I'm excited for her, and I'm proud of her before we even do anything. Because she could fail miserably, and it doesn't change the fact that I went through all that time and was happy to love on her in that moment. And she hasn't accomplished anything in that moment that day. She hasn't done anything for me. All she's done is let me love her. I mean, a perfect example of just that being with you is referenced in Isaiah 41:10. Where it talks about the Lord is saying, do not fear, for I'm with you. He's always with us, and he stays faithful to that. I don't know if you remember this, but she was not ever even willing to let me come near her legs or her ears. And for some of it, it's a safety thing, like I was just talking about. But for the other, now she's standing with ease. She's letting me pick up her feet and make her feel pretty and prepared for something that she doesn't yet know about, but that I have in store for her. Like, I keep saying the same thing, but I want to make sure that this gets across, that I just want her to feel loved going into anything that comes, to start her off that way, so that regardless of what happens, what the outcome of this session is today, I know, and she knows, that she can fall back on what we started out, what her foundation was, that she chose to trust me, and that I loved her before she did anything at all. The purpose of a test is to reveal transformation, right? We've kind of talked about that a lot this episode, but Josie isn't just doing something new, she's becoming something new. That's what Scripture's talking about. That's what I was trying to talk about just a second ago. Liberty, trust, listening even without walls. That's what growth looks like. And you get to see that through these videos of what that can actually mean. This is just more preparation for her to be able to receive, to go over these same things that we've done before, time and time again, the same environment, the same obstacles, but they just reminding her, hey, we are the same. We're doing the same. You are good. You are safe. You know these things, and you know me, and you can trust me. And I have not changed. I've not changed in this. And I'm reminding her of all of these pieces, again, playing with pressure, playing with different ways that she already knows how to communicate with me, but just reminding her and just making sure we're all on the same page. Again, it's all stuff that she knows. It should be a no-brainer for her. But even if it wasn't, then we just work on it there. And you might be sitting there going, Rachel, okay, what is all of this leading to? Because you're kind of being vague, like we don't know. Right here. Right here. I got on her. And she was just like, oh, okay, yeah, we're doing this. I've not gotten on her like this before. And she just took it like there was absolutely no issue in the world. Not only am I getting on her, I'm standing on the side of her. That means I've got really high height on one side of her. There's a ton of weight on one side. Like, she just is like, oh yeah, I was meant for this. You've set me up for this. I'm good. We're good. I'm all good. And I just want you to see she is so content with all of that. And that's huge. Like for today, that's basically all I'm going to show you today. Leading into something really exciting, but that's what I wanted to show you today. I wanted to show you that we're not looking just for action. We're watching for evidence of relationship when I'm training. And the Lord is going to focus more on relationship than he is on the actual actions. And if you take a step of faith and you believe that step of faith was what you heard and it's not quite right, the Lord will honor your faith because he receives that as you acting on the trust focusing on trust and not fear, faith and not fear, built on the foundation of your relationship with him. And Josie is doing that here. But what's so cool is it played out as this nonchalant non-issue, because there's so much water under the bridge for her that she was like, oh yeah, this is the most natural next step, because I have all of this history with this girl, with me as her trainer, and I know that she's not going to set me up for failure. So yeah, of course we'll do this. Why wouldn't we do this? You might feel like boundaries have been removed, but you're in the open. You've been released from where you were and what you were held by and what you've been captive by. And even if it doesn't feel like anything has happened and you look back for years and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm the same person. You are not the same person. You are not the same person. If you start to dive a little bit deeper, and even if you're in the season where you feel like there's a lot of pressure around you from circumstances you have no control over, the Lord has already tested your character in multiple opportunities. He's given you multiple opportunities to rise to the occasion and to show off just how much you have in relationship with him. And if you haven't risen to the occasion, maybe now's the opportunity to. Maybe this is the encouragement you need to be able to see that the fruit of you saying yes to being willing to show off your faith in the Lord and his goodness in a circumstance that feels completely counterintuitive to. Do it. What are you waiting for? Growth isn't about getting everything right. It's about responding differently than you once would have. That's what it looks like. And that's Josie is her test. It's not about jumping to the next thing or doing this big, massive activity. It's about staying with me and carrying me and being okay with whatever happens, because she knows her foundation with me has been well tested and well established. The test is relational. That's the whole point. That's the whole point of this episode, is that the test is relational, and so is your journey with God. In conclusion, I want to invite you to ask the Lord to demonstrate, to show you what areas of your character have been tested and proven with perseverance over time. They have been proven to be good, and there are areas I can guarantee you, if you've been walking with the Lord, you will have areas, you might have to ask him to show you, but you will have areas that are healthier, that are more firm, have a better foundation in your relationship with God, a better foundation in the Word of God than they did even 2 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, a week ago. I don't care. Just ask him, and then ask him where he's inviting you to grow your faith in him now, so that whatever circumstances come that you don't know about, that he is not sending your way, but that the enemy is going to send your way, you're ready and equipped, because you have your tested foundation well established, and you're ready to show up and show off what you've learned, the growth that has happened in your life and your faith and your character. So thank you so much for listening to episode 7, and please tune in next week for episode 8. I look forward to talking to you then. Thank you for watching. Please consider supporting our ministry, whether by giving or sharing this message with someone who needs it. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss what's next.